Hello and welcome to One Trek Mind with me, Michael.
And me, Raptor.
Today we're going to be discussing the upcoming feature film that that is currently in the works right now. There's not a whole lot of details on it, but we wanted to discuss our general thoughts on the project, what we would hope to see in it, just kind of a general discussion about this upcoming Star Trek film, which is potentially going to be coming out 2028, it looks like, is the consensus of people in the film industry.
I think there are sort of two questions to answer here. One, I think, easier than the other. The first question being, what do we think about them doing a movie that's not attached to any series, a completely standalone movie without a TV show?
Or the other
and
movies.
The second question, which I think is going to be the one that takes longer to answer, is what sort of things we think they could learn from what has been done before, and sort of basically what we think would be good for the movie to do. So yeah, let's start with that first question. What do we think about them doing a movie as a completely standalone project?
I actually think that's kind of a smart idea. I think one of the issues with Star Trek movies has always been you kind of need to do your homework in order to get the most out of the movie. It's almost like an MCU project where if you haven't seen what this movie is built off of, sure, you might be able to follow along with it, but you're not going to be able to enjoy it to its fullest. There's going to be things that go way over your head or questions that are just never answered. And typically when you have an established cast from a TV show that is then placed into a movie, you don't spend the first act like you would in a typical movie getting to know the characters. They just assume that you already know these characters and they just go right on in, which can be hard for a new audience to jump into. So I do think having it just be completely standalone, whole new cast, all fresh faces, it's not the worst idea.
No, I would agree with you in that regard, that I think it's interesting that when, at a time when a lot of big brands have kind of solidified themselves into creating these big film/streaming shows intermingling into their big cinematic universe things, that actually Star Trek has turned around and going the opposite direction with it and not doing that, which I think might be a savvy move. But I think to do that, you have to have some very, very good writing involved. And the quality of Star Trek's writing has not been good for a very long time.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there have been a lot of new Star Trek projects that have been quite good writing.
There's been good writing within them, but I think if you were to take all, Discovery, Picard, Academy as a whole, I think the writing of all three of those definitely could have been better. Strange New World Season 3, the writing was poor in quite a few places. And the Section 31 film...
Well, yeah, we don't talk about that.
Truly awful. So
Prodigy is also another one where I don't think it's bad by any means. I think it's actually a pretty good show. I still don't get the hype on it though. Everyone's saying that it's the best written Star Trek maybe ever, and I'm just I just don't see it. Again, I think it's pretty good, but I don't think it's incredible. But there were episodes of Academy, there were episodes of Discovery, there were episodes of Strange New Worlds that I actually really, really enjoyed, and I thought they were very good.
Yeah, it's whether they can, create a script that is for a film in line with one of those good episodes, or whether they end up with a script that's like the Section 31 film. It's a 50-50 chance.
I feel like they will have probably learned a few lessons from Section 31. So I'm leaning a little more on the hopeful side of them taking it, at least not in that direction. I think they could still potentially take it in a bad direction, but I don't think they're going to go down that route again of making a Suicide Squad Star Trek movie. I don't think they're going to do that again.
I mean, the only other thing apart from that for me is this is 100% standalone. So we're not going to know anything about the crew or anything of what's going on in this particular film. So I just question whether, or sort of how successful that could be, because every Star Trek show, you've had the crew being the main sort of factor. Even the Abrams films, which were a kind of reimagining of the story, you still had the original series crew. For the most part, they were basically like how the original series crew were.
And some notable differences for sure, but yeah, they were in the same vein as their original counterparts. But in this case, they could do anything. Like they could have a completely different dynamic with all the crew members and everything. Like it's hard to say what exactly or like how they're going to do this without knowing the cast, without knowing anything about the plot. Like it's just like the time period. We know exactly nothing about what they're going to do with this project other than it's an origin story for a new crew.
Yeah, that is literally it. So it could go very well, it could go very badly. I think it's a brave step for them, having cancelled everything else, that they're going to put all their eggs into, it seems, one basket, being the film direction, because they've already taken down the Strange New World sets. So I suppose there goes this rumor of a Captain Kirk Year 1 show.
And they still could, but it's looking less and less likely, which I'm thankful for. I don't want a Kirk Year 1 show. I'm like, thank you. I saw the original series already. Like, I've already seen Kirk and his crew do their thing for 3 seasons of the original show and then 5 more movies, technically 6 if you want to count Generations. So like I'm good. I have seen everything I need with that crew. I do not want more. So I am actually happy that they are probably not going to do that show. They're instead going to focus on this movie. However, Star Trek, I just don't think it is a theatrical brand. Like I really don't. As much as I love Star Trek like to death, it's never ever done really well in theaters. Like it hasn't tanked every single time. Like the Abrams movies did decently, the original series movies did decently, and a couple of the next gen movies did decently, but none of them have excelled. Like none of them have gone way above and beyond what they expected, have been huge cash grabs. Like none of them have done that. So I personally don't think going down the theatrical route is the best thing to do for Star Trek. But hey, if the numbers just aren't there for the shows that they've been putting out and they want to give it a try, see if they can pull in a new audience and revitalize the franchise, I mean, go for it. I really don't think it's going to work, because even if the premise of this movie is this is an origin for a new crew, you don't need to have watched Star Trek before you go into this. Unless you literally write that out on screen for the trailer, people are not going to come in droves to see this. Like, they're going to assume, oh, it's another Star Trek thing. There's like 700 hours of that I've never watched, so I'm good, I'll pass. Like, I really do not think this is going to change that. But if it does, I will happily admit that I was wrong. Like, it would be nice to see a whole new fandom come in for Star Trek.
I mean, that is the interesting point, isn't it? That can you truly create a standalone film without requiring the viewer to have any previous knowledge about Star Trek at all? Because I would argue with these franchises that have multiple, at least films, if not more, I'm not sure it is.
Again, the two things they have revealed about this movie in terms of the plot are, again, it's an origin story about this new crew. Okay, cool, done deal. But they've also been quoted saying it's a completely new take on the Star Trek universe, which to me...
See, that concerns me.
To me, that implies they are rebooting the whole thing. Like Next Gen, TOS, all the Star Trek shows we've seen, all the movies we've seen, Kelvin timeline, all of it. is going out the window in favor of rebooting the entire franchise, possibly with new aesthetics, new technologies, new ways like the Federation and stuff works. Like, it sounds like they are completely from the ground up redoing it. So on one hand, yes, that if that's true, then that really will mean you do not need to do your homework for this movie. It can be entirely standalone because it's technically the first in a new franchise. But I'm really concerned about that as well, because
Especially considering who the new owners are.
well, that as well. But my other big issue is you've consistently run into the same problem with modern Star Trek of alienating the built-in audience you already had by making pretty radical changes. Again, I am a person that likes a lot of these radical changes because I don't like things to get stagnant and just be the same thing over and over and over again. So there's been a lot of changes that modern Trek has done that I welcome, some less so, but in general, I'm in favor of shaking things up a little bit. But when you tell me you're gonna just completely redo all of it, I am a little nervous. I'm like, I feel like you're going to push out the current Star Trek fan base, like just completely out the window in favor of a completely new fan base that I do not think is going to form in the way that they want it to, because it's called Star Trek. I just don't think that's gonna work. But again, if I'm proven wrong, great. I would love to go see this movie and think to myself, wow, that is wildly different from any other Star Trek movie I've seen, but it was great. It didn't feel like Star Wars. It didn't feel like Star Trek. It didn't feel like anything I've seen before. It was genuinely new and interesting, and I enjoyed it. But I just don't have faith that that is what's going to happen.
Which brings us to what we would hope they learn. And you've already touched on one of them for me, and that is, for God's sake, remember that they're Star Trek. You know, they're not Star Wars, they're not Suicide Squad. Remember that you're supposed to be Star Trek and actually make a film that has the Star Trek recipe within it. You know, the optimism, the exploration, the humor, the personal drama, or sort of the character drama. I don't want to see another Abrams versified version of Star Trek where every problem is solved by firing phasers at it, nor do I want to see it transformed into some hollow attempt at creating a Suicide Squad film like Section 31. Actually be Star Trek. Actually have someone writing the thing who understands what the ethos of Star Trek is supposed to be.
Which I don't think we're gonna get that, particularly because for all the issues that people have with Alex Kurtzman, I personally don't. I think he genuinely does love Star Trek, and he's tried his best to make Star Trek that other people will also like, and followed in line with the ethos of Star Trek while trying to shake things up, sometimes a little too much, sometimes not enough. But I think he tried, like, genuinely. I don't think he had any like malicious intent to just ruin the franchise for people like many people have claimed. But with the new ownership of Star Trek being the Paramount Skydance merger and everything, and the people in charge of those companies being massive dickheads who love Trump, I really don't think they're gonna get the ethos. Like, they've pretty much gotten rid of all the teams that have worked on Star Trek for the past like 40 years, probably in favor of an entirely new teams of people who fit their line of thinking a little better. And if that's the case, then I feel like what we're gonna get is just white men in space who uphold the strong Federation, who are willing to like drop a nuke on a planet if that's what it takes to get rid of the nasty terrorists. Like, I feel like that's the direction they're gonna go with this movie. And again, I will be so happy if I'm wrong, but given who's in charge of it now, I'm not confident we're gonna get what Star Trek is supposed to be.
The other things I hope they would do with a new Star Trek film, make the stakes a little more personal, a little smaller.
They won't. I'm just telling you right now, they will not. Like, this is a theatrical movie.
This is supposed to be what we
theaters.
hope that they do. It's not whether they would or won't. I'm hoping that they would do something like this because I'm so bored of, oh my god, the Federation is in danger every other week, or the whole galaxy is in danger every other week. Can we maybe reduce the size? And I mean, if they're wanting us to get to know a new crew, I feel like going for some big grandiose spectacle is probably the worst way of getting to know a new crew. You probably want to tackle something that's a little smaller scale and a little bit more personal.
I mean, I think that would definitely make for a better movie. And you can still have action in a movie that has personal stakes. Like, it's been done in the MCU, like with superhero movies. If you can do it there, you can absolutely do that in a Star Trek movie or any sci-fi movie. But yeah, I'm telling you right now, they're not going to do that. Like, if they were making a new show, I would be like, maybe that's what they'll go for. That would be nice. Kind of Strange New Worlds it up where it's not like galaxy ending threats all the time, even though that show has fallen into that problem as well. But again, the fact that they're making it a theatrical movie for movie theaters, not even like Section 31 was just for Paramount Plus. This is going to theaters. So I guarantee they're going to value the spectacle more than some of the other things. They're 100% going to be like, all right, so we got to blow up a planet and we got to do some crazy shit in this movie to get people in the theater to actually watch it. So yeah, I highly doubt we're going to get a lower stakes movie, but if we do, that would be fantastic.
What would you hope that a movie like this would do, since you're coming from the perspective of they're not going to probably do the small stakes and that sort of thing, based on what you think is probably the most likely route that the film will go? What do you hope then that they would learn from previous mistakes?
All I want more than anything else is to know who the characters are. That is my biggest thing. It's going to be the hardest thing for them to do because they will have an ensemble cast that they will have to introduce us to and give character arcs to in one singular movie, so in about 2 hours. So they have 2 hours to get me to know, at least somewhat well, a minimum of like 5 characters, maybe more. I would be okay with them being like, okay, we can't focus on every bridge crew member in this single movie, or we can't focus on like all the major characters here, but you got to give me like at least 5 to care about if you're going to do a Star Trek movie. So that's the one thing. Even if they value spectacle above all else, even if they do a whole bunch of dumb shit, I just want to know what the characters' names are and what their deal is. Like, what is your driving force here as a captain or as the helmsman or whoever they choose to focus on? That is all I want. Or that's not all I want, but that's the biggest thing that I want, because so far I would say only 2 shows out of all of the modern Star Trek have successfully done that, and that is Strange New Worlds and Starfleet Academy. Every other show, I still could not tell you who all the characters are. I'm like, I forgot her name. I forgot his name. I don't know what his deal is. Couldn't tell you. I don't know.
I mean, most of Discovery's crew is for sure. Lower Decks, we're pretty good with the crew as well.
That's true. I did leave them out, and I think that one counts. Well, I feel like we don't know the bridge officers as well as maybe I would have liked in that show, but I think that's kind of the point. It's lower decks. It's not about the bridge crew for the most part, so I think that one is fine. Prodigy did a decent job of getting me to know who the main cast on that one is. So I kind of take back what I said. Now I'm like, well, there's only actually 2 shows that did a really bad job at that, but please don't do that. Please don't do that for this movie. Harder to do that in a movie as well. Like, if you have a show, you have minimum of like 8 to 10 hours to give everyone their time to shine and get to know them. A movie, you've only got 2. And in those 2 hours, you still have the major plot, the overarching themes, a lot of different things you need to be juggling on top of introducing you to a new cast. So it's not easy, but ideally, within the first act, they will introduce you to who you were supposed to be focusing on, and at least by the end of the second act, you know them fairly well, so that when you go into the final act of the movie, you actually care and you're decently invested. So again, it's an uphill battle, but that is what I mostly want from this movie, is to know who these characters are and to give a shit about them.
That's a pretty low bar. Because arguably that's like surely for any storytelling, that's like a pretty basic sort of level to reach.
And yet that seems to be one of the hardest things for Hollywood to do lately. Like, there are so many movies that have come out where, again, you hit that third act and they're like, everyone could die, this is so intense, this is so upset, this is so tragic, and I'm like, who are you? Like, I don't care. Get this over with. Give me the credits. I'm over this shit. And it's just frustrating. That has become, I wouldn't say a norm. I think if I looked at each movie individually, it's probably not the norm that's happened, but there have been some pretty high, what's the word I'm looking for? Some very notable projects in the last 10 years that have done that. And it gets really frustrating that they expect you to care when they don't put in the work to make you care. Yeah, for me, that is base level what I need.
Some people I have also seen online at the moment, and this is probably the last thing to discuss. Some people have obviously been saying we have had rumors of films being made before and then never happens. And there's some people who are sort of suggesting that this is the beginning of another period of Star Trek disappearing like it did the last time.
I don't think it is, actually.
You're pretty confident that this is gonna go through?
This movie, I think, is 100% gonna happen. Whether new shows or other new movies pop up after this, that I don't know. After this movie, we genuinely might be heading into a drought when it comes to Star Trek content. But this movie, I am 99% sure it is going to happen. I feel really confident that this is going to go through.
But would a break be necessarily a bad thing? Was kind of the point I was going to get to. If say this film is a complete flop, which judging on Section 31 it could be. If Star Trek was to go to bed for 10 years, again, would that be such a terrible thing?
My opinion on that, well, it's kind of a nuanced feeling I have when it comes to that. On one hand, yes, it would be a bad thing because I love Star Trek and I want more. Don't stop giving me the thing that I like. I would like to continue watching this while I'm still in my 30s. I don't want to wait till I'm 45 before it finally comes back. But on the other hand, again, if the direction that they take the franchise in is in line with right-wing politics and conservatism and everything, then yeah, let it die. Let it die for 10 years until someone who was actually worthy to tell a Star Trek story comes back. So again, it's a little give and take on that one, where I'm just yes, I would love to watch more new Star Trek. But if that new Star Trek is weird anti-DEI stuff, then no, I don't want to watch that Star Trek. But again, if it's not going to be that, and it is going to be in line with what Star Trek has always been, then yes, give me 10 more shows. I want to watch more. I like Star Trek. And I will be sad to not have any for a long period of time. But I would rather not have it for a long period of time than get something that is antithetical to what Star Trek is.
Yeah, yes. Because I think out of all of this, that's my biggest concern, is they're going to create something which is a perversion of the very basic tenets of Trek. Regardless of whether you have liked some of the new Trek or not, fundamentally they've all been made from a place of trying to represent this optimistic view of a future with better ideals than what a lot of people have at the moment. And
yes, infinite diversity through infinite combinations, all that jazz.
Exactly. if it becomes, twisted into some right-wing propaganda tool, that I think would be, well, awful. And in my opinion, if you like Star Trek, you don't want to see it become a right-wing propaganda tool for conservatism. I'll defend that fact. I'm sure there are right-wing conservatives who say that, you like Star Trek. And for those people, I'm confused as to how they can, considering all the rhetoric that is spilled out these days from that side of the political leaning. I just want Star Trek to remain true to what it is and not end up as something abhorrent.
If it did go down that route of becoming this like cookie cutter, easy to consume bit of media for right-wing people, I'm tempted to go down the grifter route of like what all these other channels are doing now for like Starfleet Academy and everything, and just make content to hate it. But that's not how I like do things. We always
review things, we will say what's good, we'll say what's bad. We always review things fairly, don't we? Well, we try to.
No. But I mean, again, if there is something that I just actively hate, I'm like, I hate the creators behind this, I hate the message that they're trying to tell with this, I will not support this, then I also just won't make content about it, because I don't want to give any kind of leverage to that thing that I am actively boycotting. Like when the new Harry Potter show comes out, I will not be posting anything about it. I will not be creating any videos about it. I will just ignore it 100%, because that is the only way I can voice my dissent, basically. Just don't give them any money.
We have plenty of old Star Trek to review and do videos on, and
our
stuff.
channel will be fine. Like, we've got plenty of stuff to work with. It's just, if it does end up going down that route, then yeah, we probably just won't cover it at all, because it's like, nope, I'm not going to give it the time of day. I refuse.
Yeah, I agree with you.
One final thing I do want to say is the director appears to be one of the directors that was used for the show Andor, which actually makes me a little excited. I'm like, okay, that was a great show that did not focus heavily on action or spectacle or anything. It was a very character drama heavy show that kind of veered away from the usual Star Wars stories and ended up being all the better for it. So that gives me a little hope. Let me take a look at the writer here real quick, see what else he's done. Can we ever get a woman to write Star Trek? Like, damn. I know the shows have had a lot of women writers, but I don't think any of the movies have.
No, I don't think they have.
Okay, let's see what else he's done. Oh, no. Okay, wait a second. Wait, we could be in trouble, but we also could be in for some real fun. Hold on. Let me just take a look here. Okay, this is all over the place. Okay, so on one hand, it appears this writer has made some movies that I really liked and some movies that I absolutely despised. And I'm looking at just what he has written, because he's not going to be the director or producer or anything. He's the writer for this. So he's written the new Beetlejuice, which fucking sucked. Not good. But he also wrote the Lego Batman movie. Love that movie. Thought it was quite good. He did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which, again, I don't think it's a good movie, but it was a fun movie. Like, it was just insanity. He also did Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which, again, also not a good movie, but insane. Like, it was a fun time for sure. Those are the most notable projects that he's done, actually. So, ooh, I didn't see that one. Oh, okay, that makes me nervous again. I was thinking, like, he did the Lego Batman movie. He knows how to write a good movie. But that coupled with Beetlejuice, and now I'm seeing the second Now You See Me movie, I'm nervous again. Looks like we got ourselves a good director and a potentially very bad writer.
If we can say anything, it should be interesting, at least, as the news slowly drips out about it. It'll be interesting.
On one hand, him being the writer makes me feel more confident that they'll allow the movie to be a little silly, which I am perfectly fine with. I think Star Trek and some of its best episodes have always been like some of the more kooky stuff. Yeah, just like have fun with it. But yeah, I don't know. One other thing I want to ask you before we wrap this up.
Uh-oh.
What time period would you like to see them in this movie? Because again, according to this, it is a complete franchise reboot. So we can assume there's no Kirk, there's no anything we have known before. But I would assume the timelines are probably going to be somewhat in line with what we've seen before. So what time period would you want to see this movie?
I suppose it's very dependent on like how much they're throwing away. For me, I think there are some very clear, obvious time periods that would work really well for a film. The Romulan Earth War is a pretty good example of somewhere there's no Trek to do with it whatsoever. So you have pretty much free reign to do what you like.
You can have a lot of action in that too, if that's what they want.
You can have a lot of action for your spectacle. You can have your maleficent bad guys in the form of the mustache twisting Romulans at their height of mustache twisting.
We'll go lurk over there.
The lore from Enterprise is relatively flexible, so you can twist things around quite easily for that. Or do something set during the Dominion War, which would be harder if you're not wanting to like have anything from like DS9 or TNG influence it. It would be a lot harder to do a Dominion War story, but again, has the advantage of the action there, and you can do hard-hitting stories there.
And again, if they're going to reboot it, they could just redo the whole way the war starts. They could just completely do whatever they want with it.
Set it at a time period that we haven't done. So post Picard or the Forgotten Era. But I wouldn't want to see it stop pushing the 30 seconds in. Like, it was a good idea to try to bring Discovery out of the doldrums, but stop pushing this whole 32nd century idea as being a relevant time. But it's just not.
You see, I like this 32nd century for the most part.
Just look at the original block of Trek and either do something a little bit after it, do something inside of it. I mean, I suppose they could also do something set before even Enterprise. Do something set in the very, very early days of Starfleet. That's a pretty free game. Early stuff with the Vulcans or early exploration. I mean, at that point in time, what starships Earth had, they are few and far between, off on their own, usually without communication, without support, without backup. Sounds pretty good for a story about a single ship with a single crew on some adventure or dealing with some catastrophe without help and support. Sounds prime for some character drama, frankly.
I think for myself, I would want to see... Again, I don't know. Like, if they're rebooting the whole Star Trek universe, then it could look like anything. Like,
yeah,
it might not look anything at all like anything from any Star Trek we've seen before. So at that point, it kind of doesn't matter what time period you set it in. Just pick a year, I guess. You could tell me it's 2026 in an alternate timeline where we got to warp travel a lot faster than we have here. So I don't know.
That's sort of the bottom line for me. Your bottom line is character. My bottom line is it has to look like Star Trek. I want to see ships that look like they should be in Star Trek. Uniforms that should look like Star Trek. Technology that should look like Star Trek. I don't want pew pew red laser guns. I don't want Star Wars style hyperspace engines and all that crap. Give me warp nacelles. Give me starships that look correct. Aesthetically, if you want to make them fucking bright pink and covered in rainbows, I don't care. I know some people would. I'm just using this as an example. If it looks like a ship from Star Trek in terms of its overall design aesthetics, I will be happy. I will be pissed if the starships look like they should be in a different franchise altogether.
I think
that's my bottom line, is the aesthetics. And I suspect I might be pissed. I mean, Abrams's interpretation pissed me off enough.
That's not even...
So, hey...
Like,
that's not even
radically
that different.
It has some differences, for sure. Like, again, those nacelles were chunky on that ship in the Abrams movies. I have just a gut feeling that they are going to radically change what it looks like. Probably to get people to not think that it's Star Trek.
And at that point, why the hell even fucking call it Star Trek at that point?
I agree. But I really strongly feel that the trailer they're going to drop for this is going to look so radically different from normal Star Trek that they're intending to kind of trick people into wanting to go see this. They're like, oh, what is this sci-fi movie? What's going on here? What is that ship? What is that technology? Nothing that anyone would really recognize from Star Trek. And then at the end of the trailer, when it drops the name Star Trek, people will go, what? That's Star Trek? Maybe I should watch that. Like, I wholeheartedly think that is going to be their method here. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that's what they're going to do.
Well, we will see. But over to you guys. What do you think about everything that is happening? What do you think about Paramount and Skydance being in bed together? What do you think about the news that we're going to have this standalone film / reboot thing that they're doing? Now, what are your hopes? What are your fears? Let us know down in the comments. We will endeavor to answer and respond. And obviously, if you like listening to us ramble about Star Trek and you want to listen to us ramble about more Star Trek in the future, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. But until next time, it is goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.